especially with how divisive many of the cultures within the United States are nowadays. Having the opportunity to interact with someone else from another culture, seeing what they're all about compared to us, I think it's a very important thing. So when reflecting on the global learning experience, I would say that the most I got out of it was just being able to understand the difference between the United States and international culture, specifically French culture. I think it's very interesting to know the difference in our systems. For example, that since they get to go to school for free, that basically all they ever get to do is go to class. They don't have the opportunity to do extracurricular things such as sports or joining clubs or even just enjoying work. For instance, my partner told me that she doesn't really work other than go to school. Where on my end, at least, I work, go to school, do a bunch of extra things. And it's almost like paying for college. I'm essentially paying for those extracurricular activities, which I never really thought about before.
I feel like I learned a lot. I learned a lot about French education that I never thought I would need to know, but I mean, it's really interesting. It's interesting to see how our different systems work, basically. And it was also really, really great to work with Lori. She was so helpful. She was so sweet. Not at all how I thought she would be, because I don't know, it's just one of those stereotypes that like Europeans don't like Americans. So I'm like, oh my gosh, she's gonna think that I'm this certain way, but she was honestly so sweet. And after our initial video chat, every time, like if I had extra questions, she was really helpful. She responded in a very timely manner, especially considering our time difference. Sometimes I feel like she was up till 3 a.m. I think the best thing I learned from the assignment was how to schedule. Basically, it sounds kind of dumb, but with the 6 hour time difference, it was really difficult to find a time that worked for both of us. And also, just the assignment in general was really cool. I mean, I liked having to form a certain type of message, like something I learned at the end, and mine was basically like French students are pretty much like us. Like, there's not really a difference. I mean, our education is a little different, but students were all the same.
My partner, Joya Defoe, I think is how you say her name, was really nice. And I was also matched with Emily Dietrich, who is from Western Pennsylvania, but lives in Portland, Oregon now. So kind of between having the two of them, we had pretty good conversations going back and forth. It was a little difficult with Joya's time zone in Paris, mine in Eastern time, and Emily in West Coast time. Just getting a different perspective on the world and kind of getting to talk about what's going on kind of in France. And we talked a lot about the burning of Notre Dame. She was out there when it happened, and kind of her perspective of Europe, and she wants to go to America. And we kind of got to tell her like things like college football, like they don't have that at all.
I really enjoy meeting new people and learning more about just what makes them tick, their lifestyle, their view of the world, their opinions. And I also really think it's super interesting to talk to someone that's not from the United States and just say, so what do you think of the crazy stuff that we do?
The Global Learning Project was extremely enlightening for me. It broadened my perspective not only on life as a college student in France, but also on other various aspects of French culture in general. There were plenty of things I learned from talking to my partner that I wasn't aware of before and that I was surprised by. I think as Americans, we tend to have a rather ethnocentric mindset and typically forget that there are people in other places of the world that do things differently from us. And so this project definitely helped remind me of that.
I really enjoyed working with the French students. I learned so much. It was really interesting to see like their style and learn about the way that they do go through college over there. I thought it was really interesting. I also really enjoyed reading all the feature stories. I think it's so cool that people got to like connect and find a certain topic to talk about, like fashion, travel, and I thought those feature stories were a little more interesting to read than just like the schooling ones. I thought the unique topic ones, I loved reading about the fashion there. I loved like comparing American fashion, which is just like I wear leggings and a sweatshirt to class, or I wear like jeans and a t-shirt to class when I go, or I just sit on my couch and do my classes. So it's really interesting to like know that they actually dress like in a business casual kind of way. It made me kind of want to go out and buy like a trench coat because they all seem to be wearing those in their pictures. One thing that like I definitely think you should keep this project because I think it's really cool. And when I told people that I was working with a French student and I was interviewing them for a feature story, they were like, "Oh my gosh, that is like the coolest writing project ever. Like I wish I did that in college, or what class is that? I want to take it."
I feel like what I learned from it, or what I got out of it, was kind of just the perspective taking aspect of it, which was just, oh, like this is how the people over in France are, like that are my age, and they're not too different from how I am, or how it's easy, I feel, to get caught up in the culture here and all that, and kind of think that we are kind of the only ones that are the way that we are. And I think that this assignment kind of helped, I guess, make me realize that that's not true, and that people are very similar all over the world.
This was actually one of the coolest things that I've done during my time at Penn State Beaver. Noelia was super cool, and the whole experience really reminded me of high school, because in high school I went on an exchange trip to Germany, and I still talk to a lot of those people to this day. And it really helps broaden my horizons. As for perspective taking, this is exactly why I enjoyed this assignment so much. We say this in our story, but originally I thought Noelia would be totally different from us. But after conversing with her and looking at her social media, we found out that Noelia is much more similar to us than we think. She's a busy person with goals and ambitions, like many of my fellow colleagues. The school system is much more focused on careers over there, whereas our schools seek to allow students to find their passions. After all, college can be a very formative time for a lot of us.
I definitely recommend keeping this assignment for future semesters in terms of writing for the web. I think it helps broaden the horizon. It gives you that overseas experience that many students have yet to have coming right out of high school. Some may travel abroad, but this will definitely wet their toes, if you will, and give them that experience and that information. It'll definitely help in terms of international writing for the web, so you're not just writing for America, you're also writing on an international scale. And since everything nowadays in terms of social media, online writing, even interviews, even Skype interviews, they are done not just nationally but internationally. You definitely want to get as much of a grasp on the parameter of what goes on over there as much as you want to get it here.
When I first read the rubric for this assignment, I was really scared. I grew up in a small town in Pennsylvania. I went to a small high school, and I went on to go to a small campus at college. I think that in a lot of ways, I am privileged, and I live a very privileged life. It's not that I don't want to broaden my perspective, because I definitely do. In fact, I welcome it. But there was definitely fear. I'm not gonna lie. We initially bonded over things like anime and traveling, which I ended up writing my feature story on. But after that, we really started to ask each other questions about what it's like. And again, I was nervous because I was afraid that if we started to talk about our differences too much, that I might be offensive or be doing something wrong. But this assignment taught me that
I don't think that we should be afraid of differences. In fact, I think that we should celebrate those differences because it's what makes us unique, and it's what helps to gain new perspectives and make new friends.